Hi, I'm Damon Pohl. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the Versus series. Today's manga are about magic and witches. They are light and fun stories for the most part, with the exception of shonen fantasy violence and some mild body horror. There will be minor plot spoilers, but I'll try to avoid discussing any major twists. Please support your local artists and publishers, and request these comics if they are not yet available in your area. With our coven gathered, let's begin the ritual.
Black Clover versus Witch Hat Atelier.
Part 1. The Overview. Magic is a common theme in many genres. Growing up, I was a fan of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, both the comic and TV show versions. 1989's Kiki's Delivery Service is another of my favorites. There are countless manga about mages and magic academies, but today we will look at just two. These authors use magic not only as a plot device, but also as the foundation of detailed worlds, filled with fantastical environments, heroic characters, and of course, incredible spells. First, we'll discuss the magical misfits that fill the world of Black Clover. Black Clover was created by Yuki Tabata in 2015. It is a grand fantasy story filled with mages and spells. Before Clover, Tabata created a one-shot comic, Hungry Joker, with supernatural and science fiction themes. Hungry Joker won first place in the Golden Future Cup in 2011, a reader survey contest run by Shonen Jump every summer. The winners of the Golden Future Cup often go on to be serialized, and Hungry Joker was picked up by Weekly Shonen Jump in 2012, running for 3 volumes. Tabata repeated this pattern, releasing another one-shot titled Black Clover, first published in Shonen Jump Next in 2014. Black Clover was picked up as a series by Weekly Shonen Jump in 2015. It is not every day that a one-shot becomes a series, and Tabata completed the feat twice. In the following years, Clover went on to become a breakout hit with dozens of volumes. Black Clover is a classic shonen story, where the hero overcomes all odds through training and willpower. The protagonist Asta is accepted into a group of wizard knights known as the Black Bulls. Here is the description from Black Clover's first printed volume. Asta is a young boy who dreams of becoming the greatest mage in the kingdom. Only one problem: he can't use any magic. Luckily for Asta, he receives the incredibly rare 5-leaf clover grimoire that gives him the power of anti-magic. Can someone who can't use magic really become the Wizard King? One thing's for sure, Asta will never give up. From the first chapter, Clover drew me into the fantasy world. The huge monster skulls looming in the background hint at the history of battle mages. As the story goes on, it is filled with fun characters and intricate magical combat. Tabata cites famous adventure manga like Dragon Ball, Berserk, and Bleach as influences, and shonen lovers will find Black Clover has many familiar themes. Striving to be the best is commonplace in shonen comics. Instead of a pirate king or a king of games, Black Clover's Asta strives to become Wizard King. He competes with his rival as they egg each other on to accomplish great feats and get closer to their goal. Black Clover went on to become a long-running series and has several full-length novels, animations, and other adaptations we'll discuss later on. Next, we'll study the spellbinding coming-of-age story, Witch Hat Atelier. Witch Hat Atelier was created by Kamomi Shirahama in 2016. It is a detailed story about witches and the disturbing consequences of their world. Shirahama has a wide range of art, including covers for Marvel and DC Comics, as well as work on the short film and manga versions of Star Wars Visions. Before Atelier, Shirahama created a one-shot titled Watashi no Kuro-chan in 2011. Also called My Little Noir, the story involves the search for a missing cat. Shirahama also released a series titled Eniel and Delilah in 2012, a 3-volume fantasy comedy about an angel and a demon who form a friendship through fashion. Both of these stories show off rich and detailed art, and were released in the seinen magazine Fellows. Next, Shirahama began to cook up a cauldron of occultist chronicles. Here is the description from Atelier's first printed volume. Meet young Coco, curious and bright, and desperate to learn how magic's wrought. But witches keep their secrets hidden tight. and witches, Coco knows, are born, not taught. Then one day Coco spies upon a witch as he prepares the charms for which she yearns, and sees that, like her skill with thread and stitch, the truth is, magic's something she can learn. Now with this knowledge, Coco starts to try to teach herself the witch's way with charms, and yet her aspirations go awry as Coco's magic causes grievous harm. To set things right, Coco leaves her home, and so begins the tale within this tome. The different factions and ideologies in the world of Atelier make it a fun read. Similar to Dungeon Meshi from our last episode, the light story and setting can get surprisingly dark when it wants to. The comic features detailed world building. Mages carry special spellbooks of incomplete glyphs that they can quickly complete, vastly increasing the speed of spellcasting. The firm magical rules help the world come alive. The characters consider their environment and take realistic and creative approaches to situations. The story fits as a literacy analog, where groups are attempting to suppress and monopolize the education and dissemination of certain knowledge. The development of glyphs mirrors real-world linguistics, as new students learn to write and go on to shape and change future systems. Atelier is a French word meaning workshop or artist's studio, and fittingly, Witch Hat Atelier has a detailed and captivating art style. Shirahama mentions being inspired by high fantasy like Lord of the Rings, The Chronicles of Narnia, and The Neverending Story. There is also an influence of intricate art styles from the past few centuries. Atelier has a spin-off comic titled Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen, which was released in Morning 2 in 2019. An anime series by Bug Films was recently announced, set to release in 2025. We'll talk more about these adaptations and Shirahama's influences a little later on. With the runes drawn and the candles lit, let's spell out the specifics. This is the final spoiler warning, as I will now discuss the devilish details. Part 2. The Similarities. Just like in our last episode, these are firmly fantasy comics. They draw from medieval settings, fashion, and architecture. The fantasy genre allows for creativity in both plotlines and design. There are sprawling landscapes and grand castles filled with ornamented royals. The societies in these stories are innovated by magical means. New spells and trinkets allow for improved quality of life. The progress of development is slowed due to the clashing of powerful mages, which damages the landscape and population of nearby regions. The witches must be on guard from threats to protect themselves and their vulnerable citizens. Those without magic are often in danger of being culled, and novice mages are targeted by evil groups who seek new members, or fresh power sources. Both protagonists start the story without magic, but later learn to use and develop their own style. They become an apprentice to a magic group, defying the odds and working hard to become a mage. They strive to fit in, feeling like an imposter in this new world. They face placement tests for witches, difficult challenges required to achieve an official rank. In these worlds, mages are grouped into squads who specialize in accomplished missions to aid the nation. Black Clover's Wizard Knights and the Pointed Caps of Atelier are both organized groups of mages, with established rules, protocols, and hierarchies. In theory, they protect civilians and those without magic. In practice, the mages can represent a closed group, hesitant to let in outsiders. This reluctance is not without good reason, as the world of magic is a dangerous one. Enemies and threats lie in wait, and the factions have learned to be cautious, as spells can be quick and deadly. As such, the training of both stories' apprentices is disrupted by a clash with an enemy group. What were supposed to be routine trials become a battle for life and death, with the use of permanent and devastating spells. The enemies seek to poach young magic users to manipulate them or steal their magic. They also try to experiment with new spells or discover powerful relics of the past. During their lighter moments, these stories feature magic festivals, events where civilians and mages come together to celebrate. There are award ceremonies, vendors, and meals that the mages share together. This brief look at normal life helps to broaden the world and slow the pacing between battles. There are themes of embracing uniqueness. The personality traits of characters are displayed through their spells and attributes. They push each other to enhance and innovate their magic, and often find synergy by combining and learning from different styles. Both protagonists strive to keep up with a skilled rival. As is common in shonen manga, the rival characters have dark hair, just like fan favorites Sasuke from Naruto or Death Note's L. In Black Clover, Asta's childhood friend Yuno receives a special grimoire. He has innate magical aptitude and quickly grows stronger. Yuno and Asta both boast that they will be the next Wizard King. During times of strife, they remind each other of these claims and redouble their efforts and training. In Atelier, Coco meets Agot. Initially cold, Agot and Coco grow closer as they both plunge into life as a mage. Agot is skilled and takes learning to be a witch seriously. Due in part to her past and family, Agot struggles with self-confidence, a common theme present in both comics. Besides these rivals, the protagonists are also joined by friends who use defensive magic to support other mages. In Clover, Noelle joins the Black Bulls at the same time as Asta. She uses water magic and shows a high capacity for spells, but low finesse and a lack of control. She is inspired by Asta to work hard and improve her ability. She uses a water shield to defend her allies during combat, and finds ways to turn her weakness into a strength. This is mirrored in Atelier with Coco's peer Tetya. She is supportive in her personality and hopes to use her magic to aid others and make the world brighter. She uses clouds as well as spells like Wind Wall and Sand Cage to manipulate the battlefield in favor of her allies. These friends provide support for the hero both in and out of combat and become powerful mages in their own right. The growth of the novice witches is in part due to the aid they receive from their mentors. Quifrey runs the Atelier and oversees several students. He vouches for Coco and helps her understanding of the power of magic. In Clover, Yami is in charge of the Black Bulls, a division of the Wizard Knights known for misfits with unconventional powers. Yami sees value and strength where others do not. All of the members of the Black Bulls work hard to meet the expectations of their leader and to prove that Yami's trust was not misplaced. The teachers try to bring out the best in their pupils and teach them what they need to know in order to survive and thrive in these fantastical worlds. They do their best to protect their students from harm, as well as the allure of other mages. The mentors were once apprentices themselves, and they report to their superiors up the chain of command, including royal wizards. These elite mages keep a tentative peace due to their skills and reputation. In Atelier, there are the three Ys, a trifecta of rulers each responsible for a different facet of society. The three Ys are composed of wizards embodying friendship, principles, and teaching. While they might have their own goals, they have to keep up with each other and maintain order. Black Clover has a whole society dedicated to a wizard king. The ruler in Asta's time is a grand wizard named Julius Novachrono. The world of Clover is filled with many royal families who feel that they are elite and try to diminish the capabilities of commoners. There are similar situations in Atelier. Agot's family comes from a long line of successful witches. They were prominent librarians who held prestigious ranks. The royal mages are separate even from the civilian elites. Clover has both a wizard king and a civilian monarch. This proves to be a challenging situation to balance, as the wizard king garners more respect, and in many ways has more agency. The ruling class in these stories is controlled by magic. Innovation, defense, and prosperity are all linked to the success of a nation's witches. The stories also play with the dubious purity of the ruling class. Not all those in power have the interests of the civilians at heart, and a common result of monarchy is widespread inequality. This leads to uprisings of those who want to change the status quo, ushering in a new era. The brimmed caps in Atelier are mirrored by the Eye of the Midnight Sun, a cult of mages who stand against the Wizard King and seek to destroy the population of the Clover Kingdom. These groups dabble with forbidden magic, including the ability to alter body and mind. After the Day of the Pact, transfiguration and creating runes on one's body, was expressly forbidden in the world of Atelier. These spells can be dangerous for the user, and body augmentation is a clear sign of a brimmed cap. The advantages or even healing resulting from these spells muddies the line between right and wrong. Conversely, as Asta faces off against the Midnight Sun, he encounters a powerful trinity known as the Third Eye. These mages, named after treachery, hatred, and despair, use all manner of magic, including transforming into demonic beasts. A whole nation in Clover uses gems to enhance their mage's ability. The Diamond Kingdom embeds stones into the bodies of young witches. If this dangerous process is successful, the gem acts as a catalyst for their magical power. The introduction of the Diamond Kingdom is one of the moments when the world of Clover really opens up. At first I assumed the Clover Kingdom was named after its grimoires and the lucky four-leaf clover. I didn't realize it was mirroring a deck of cards until the introduction of the Diamond Kingdom. You can start to daydream about the other two potential kingdoms and what their magic and societies might look like. The magic systems in both stories are complex and comprehensive, and as is often the case in mage media, many spells have elemental attributes. This helps to split the magic into categories and allows for characters to have specializations. Elemental magic can be seen in popular games like Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger. Clover has a wealth of elemental attributes including wind, water, and darkness, as well as Asta's anti-magic. Atelier has 5 main elemental sigils, as well as nuanced ones like crystal and area form. Elemental magic also marks a division between natural and unnatural spells. In Clover, select few who meet certain requirements are chosen by elemental spirits, following a long-held pattern. This magic is in harmony with nature and the living world. Elemental magic seems to be in opposition to the forbidden spells dealing with death, destruction, and manipulation. These comics both display witches who can even distort time itself. Time magic is perhaps unsurprisingly the specialty of the Wizard King Nova Chrono, whose Latin name translates to New Time. Another Clover mage, Vanessa, uses a black cat to manipulate the weaving red threads of fate. This proves to be a near-perfect defensive spell that aids the Black Bulls immensely. In Atelier, some brimmed caps use magic to reverse time, often with incredible results. The ability to influence time is perhaps the most potent form of magic and helps display why these worlds are so dangerous and peace is so precarious. Both creators draw inspiration from the vivid work of Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. In a 2018 interview for France Info's Pop-Up Culture, Tabata lists Laputa Castle in the Sky as one of their favorites. A 2021 article on Manga News discusses Shirahama's influence, including Miyazaki and French artist Mobius. Aside from their content, there are similarities in the release and reception of these stories. These two manga were published just over a year apart and are both still ongoing. As of writing this, Atelier recently released Chapter 81, and Clover is up to Chapter 373. They are both available in English as well as other languages like French and Spanish. Each author created their magical work after finishing another series. The works that came before both ran for 3 volumes. Both comics have inspired spin-off series. The spin-offs borrow characters and settings and play with a new genre, leaning into comedic themes. Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen was released in 2019 and has 5 volumes so far. It follows Quifri and Olruggio, cooking up culinary creations, and like our friend Dungeon Meshi, the fantastical recipes are presented with realistic step-by-step instructions. Asta-kun Mahote Ino Michi, Asta's Journey to Wizard King, finished with 3 volumes and was first released in 2018. The basic plot and characters are largely unchanged, but the story is much more silly, and the comic has a chibi art style. By next year, both series will also have anime versions, which we'll discuss a little later on. These comics are both widely sold and critically acclaimed. Atelier won several awards in 2019 and 2020, and was among the top 10 graphic novels for teens according to the American Library Association. In 2016, Clover won awards from Da Vinci as well as the Hanya Club. Both of these comics are filled with marvelous magicians who must manage their lives in mysterious medieval realms. With our circle drawn and the spell a success, let's take a look at the unique elements of these tales, the embellishments that adorn the brim of their caps. Part 3. The Differences. Looking at a few of the covers of these stories, there are differences in art style. Atelier is highly praised for its art. It has detailed and fine lines, and takes inspiration from a variety of historical art styles, including Art Deco and Art Nouveau. According to a 2020 Rise Art article by Tati Martin, Art Nouveau is a style from the late 19th century, and is known for its industrial inspirations and use of color. Art Deco came 30 years later, influenced from recent changes in technology and the rise of avant-garde art. Martin writes that the two styles, although often confused, mark entirely different directions in the development of modern art. Both styles are unified in their reflection of the times in which they came about and the span of their influence. Shirahama's influences are wide-ranging, and they also have an extensive history working with Western comics, including variant covers for Batgirl and the Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman. Shirahama's detailed and unique style is a good fit for the comic book genre, which blends fantasy elements into modern settings. A 2020 article for the Vault publication by Hayashi describes the captivating art of Atelier. Alongside Art Nouveau influences, the article mentions the style of etching, popularized in the 17th century. Etching involves artists engraving illustrations onto metal plates, which are later printed onto paper. Famous etchers include Rembrandt and Kollwitz. The Vault article also draws comparisons to Lancelot Speed, an early 20th century illustrator known for castles, knights, and intricate detail. Hayashi does a good job analyzing Shirahama's art style, and there is a link to it and all of my sources in the description if you'd like to read further. Here is a brief excerpt of the article's conclusion. Each line becomes an extension of the intentionality of the artist. Like the engraved text at the base of a statue, it feels meant to be reached out and felt, as if turning it over in the palm of your mind could be a visceral experience. I think intentionality is a good word to pair with Atelier. Comparing the pages, it is easy to see this vintage fairy tale inspiration. In an article this year, Shirahama states that children's books and vintage books have these beautiful illustrations, and I've always thought it'd be so nice to read it in a manga that was made up in this art style, and take that worldview that is present in these old books and fairy tales and drop that into this manga. That's why there's so much involved in Witch Hat Atelier, like the ink and paper, the old-fashioned runes, and the artifacts and antiques as well. Shirahama also cites the work of shoujo authors like Moto Hagio as an influence. The impact of these different styles is woven throughout the unique and unforgettable art of Atelier. On the other hand, Clover has a common shonen art style. It will look familiar to fans of other Shonen Jump stories like Naruto or Dragon Ball. In the France Info article from earlier, Tabata recalls seeing Toriyama's Dragon Ball on TV as a young child. While Clover might be more of a typical shonen style, it is still very detailed and displays a high level of artistry. The world of Clover is filled with vivid scenery, diverse characters, and action-packed fight scenes. Besides their art, there are also differences in genre. Again, we approach the fine line between shonen and seinen. Shonen, literally meaning few years, also means young boy. It commonly refers to a genre of comics that is aimed at teenage male readers. According to a 2022 article for Comic Book Resources by Thornton, shonen tends to feature light-hearted stories full of action and adventure. I cover some of shonen's early roots in one of my shorter videos on the origins of Shonen Jump. Shonen comics are overwhelmingly popular, with many magazines dedicated to publishing the genre. The story and design of Clover will be familiar to shonen readers. The grit and determination of the hero always ends in success. Characters name their attacks and shout them during combat, like Yami's dark-cloaked dimension slash or Luck's Thunder God's boots. There are enemies to friends plotlines and an emphasis on the power of friendship. Clover even has its own version of the infamous shonen trope, a hot springs arc. Seinen, on the other hand, literally means youth, and is aimed at a slightly older young adult audience. In their CBR article, Thornton writes that Seinen can cover many topics, such as politics, war, fantasy, sports, or even comedy. This manga demographic tends to feature more mature themes than shonen, often displaying more graphic depictions of violence than their counterpart. Seinen stories like our friend Higanjima pursue twisted and thrilling plot lines, delving into psychology, horror, and romance. Popular seinen magazines like Weekly Manga Times and Weekly Manga Goraku are widely sold. At first glance, it might be surprising that Atelier is a seinen story. Its fairy tale appearance and coven content makes it reminiscent of many manga about a witch in training, like Little Witch Academia or Hooky. These are usually quirky and lighthearted coming-of-age stories. The magical world provides an additional layer for slice-of-life storytelling. Atelier is something else altogether. The comic is a slow boil with less frequent skirmishes and more suspense and consideration. The world opens up to both Coco and the reader as you learn about the nature of magic. While Black Clover might be more violent, Atelier has more disturbing elements. The direct consequences of a world of magic can be quite chilling. While Clover briefly hints at these implications, Atelier puts them in full focus. Beyond style and genre distinctions, the stories also differ in content. Both bright and magical worlds have their own unique rules, and while their themes match in broad strokes, there are particularities worth bringing into the picture. One clear difference is that of Clover's grimoires. On their 15th birthday, or any time after, young mages can receive their grimoire from a special tower library. Often the spellbooks begin with many blank pages that are filled in as the witch discovers their abilities. Each unique grimoire is a reflection of the user's magic, and is connected to their spirit. Yuno was already a natural at using wind magic even at a young age. As such, they receive a special 4-leaf clover grimoire, embodying their prowess and good luck. Asta's 5-leaf anti-magic tome is rarer still, and its text is written in a demonic script. Receiving the personalized gift of a grimoire, or the blessing of a nature's deity, is a different conception of magic than Atelier. In Atelier, knowledge equals power. Only those brought into the fold have a chance to delve into the world of witchcraft. The protagonist's spells and their path as a character is affected by these different magic systems. Asta's unique grimoire favors physical combat. Asta focuses on strength and endurance training, improving his sword skills, and finding ways to dispel magic. This arc has a slightly different flavor than Coco learning and excelling with an art that had been hidden from her. Both characters are striving to train and grow to overcome the odds, but they go about it in different ways. There are also discussions of conformity and uniqueness. There are many different kinds of wizard knights in Clover, with original and outlandish styles of spells. There are squads of magic knights like the Golden Dawn, Blue Rose, and Crimson Lions. Characters use teleportation, mirror magic, sheep magic, and countless other strategies and combinations. There is a focus on the strength of diversity and the power found in bonds and friendship, so common in shonen tales. The Black Bulls are a representation of diversity, and the Kingdom of Clover is as well. Outside the kingdom, rival factions are filled with even more magical variations. Atelier comments on diversity through its display of a uniform society. The pointed caps are a ruling class who seize the system of magical power and now maintain it, keeping things as they are, and the civilians blissfully unaware. The system not only protects the realm, but also benefits the controllers. There is the ever-present threat of revealing the secrets of magic to the common folk. This would result in a potential catastrophe from reckless magic use, the disruption of the systems of the elites, and perhaps even outright war. The pointed caps use any possible means, including a group of witches known as the Knights Moralis, to maintain the status quo. While the brimmed caps do not always share a common goal, their individuality and unpredictability makes every one of them a threat. Just one brim could start a school and ripple waves of apprentices throughout the land. The brimmed caps represent the counterculture against conformity, but also the original way of magic. Ancient mages were discoverers, researching and pushing the limits of spells to unseen heights, no doubt with disastrous consequences. I love everything about the idea of the brimmed caps, and I think it is a really fun take on witches. It often leads to striking and memorable visuals. The deviant act of decorating your hat seems to be a fitting quality of a proper witch. Besides their content, there are differences in the creation scale and length of these manga. Atelier was developed as a series, and Shirahama says they were working on the series for 6 years before its release. On the other hand, the one-shot version of Clover was released in Jump Next Volume 2 in 2014. In the comic, Asta and Yuno appear and make their declarations to be Wizard King. A few minor changes were made when it was fleshed out into a series, but much of the core remains the same. Both series are ongoing. Atelier has sold 5.5 million copies, with 13 volumes so far. It is among the top 600 best-selling manga of all time, according to Manga Codex. Clover triples those numbers, with 19 million copies and 36 volumes. Manga Codex places Black Clover in the top 200 all-time, alongside classics like Yotsubato and Cardcaptor Sakura. Clover sold quickly after its release. It regularly placed on the weekly Oricon charts, as well as Rakuten's Top 100. The high volume of sales brought on adaptations to other media. Clover had OVA releases for Jump Festa in 2016 and 2018. A Clover anime was picked up in 2017 by TV Tokyo, and then later by Crunchyroll and Funimation. The series ran until 2021, with an impressive 170 episodes. A potential Season 5 has yet to be announced. Besides the full anime, there was also an 8-episode net animation called Squishy Black Clover, which aired in 2019. Chibi versions of the characters engage in hijinks, often involving robots. A full animated film, Black Clover Sword of the Wizard King, was released in 2023. Asta takes to the silver screen alongside several different Wizard Kings throughout history. Clover has also seen success with numerous video games. Black Clover Quartet Knights was released in 2017 for PS4 and PC by Bandai Namco. It is a multiplayer fighting game with teams of 4. You can simulate the combat and synergy of a squad of wizard knights. Quartet Knights was popular enough to warrant a 6-volume spin-off series by the same name, which showcased the game's story. Bandai Namco also published a 2018 mobile game, Black Clover Phantom Knights. It was a tower defense strategy game which shut down its servers in 2020. Another mobile game, Black Clover M, was made by Vic Game Studios in 2023. This latest iteration seems to be more of an adventure game, filled with quests, arenas, and events from the anime. The website description reads, "Unleash your inner magic in the immersive magic adventure RPG where a zero magic boy rises to become Wizard King." Just like our episode on Demon Slayer, Clover's popularity even resulted in a stage play adaptation. Black Clover the Stage ran shows in 2023 and brought the characters of the Clover Kingdom to life. The trailer for Atelier's anime came out this July, and the series is set to release in 2025. When asked about the upcoming anime in an interview for Anime Corner, Shirahama said that, "It makes me very, very happy, of course, because before I draw anything, I try to imagine what certain scenes would look like in an audiovisual format. That's where I take inspiration from, and translate that into a manga, so the fact that it can be an anime and the readers will get to experience what I'm imagining in my mind is quite cool. The studio adapting the series, Bug Films, is known for works like Summertime Rendering, as well as key animation on a variety of projects from Gundam to Pokemon, and even Scott Pilgrim. Atelier's thoughtful art and thrilling story will surely be a hit with a wide audience. These are welcoming works about witches wandering wondrous worlds, and are well worth watching. Thanks for watching this far into the video. I hope I've illuminated why I enjoy reading these series. If you like one of these comics, you'll probably like the other, and I found they had surprising staying power. This marks 5 episodes in the Versus series, and learning about the nuances of art styles and old world influences made this a fun episode to research. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have suggestions for comics for the next Versus episode, please leave them in a comment below. And let me know if you prefer your caps with a brim, wide or otherwise. Like the video if you like witches, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Thanks for listening, and happy Halloween.